Curran Bhatia here at Madison Square Garden with Carl Moretti of Top Ranked. Carl, how you doing, my friend?
All good.
We got a lot to talk about. We got boxing, we got golf. You got a couple rounds in last week, right?
Yesterday I played Sleepy Hollow, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Day before I played, and then I played last week as well, and I'm playing early Saturday morning before the fight.
Is your swing out of the winter mode? Yes. Are you in the summer mode where...
not full summer, but the irons are on fire.
Okay.
I'm still having problems getting off the tee.
Yes.
But the only way to do that is to play more, and that's what I certainly intend on doing now that we're done with this global tour we just got through with.
Right. You were all over. Top Rank was with a lot of events. You're having trouble off the tee. What's your miss off the tee?
Slice.
Are you doing a little over the top action? Is that
opening the club when I come down to the bottom? So that's what's pushing the. And I normally just really use a 3-wood off the tee. I don't really go to the driver a lot unless it's wide. But it's opening the club at the end, and it's just, getting in front of you, and it's just habit.
Well, you don't want to sacrifice that distance, though. You want to be able to take out the big stick when you need it, right?
No, I'm okay giving up the distance, because as long as I can get to my irons, which is the strength of my game, it's like boxing. If you got a jab, use it. If I can get to the irons, and that's the only way to get to the irons is to get in the fairway. You can't get to the irons from the rough. So if you put it in the fairway, you can play off your irons.
And you mentioned the jab in boxing. We're here. Arthur Beterbiev versus Joe Smith Jr. This is a huge fight. Last weekend we had Edgar Berlanga. We had the Puerto Rican fans out. What do you think about boxing at Madison Square Garden? These are home games for you, so this is great for you, right, on a personal level.
This is terrific. When we do shows in New York, I don't have to stay in New York. I don't have to stay in a hotel room. So I love shows in New York, despite the costs. We love it in New York. Yeah, it's 2 in a row. It's the end of a little bit of a hot streak where we started with Tyson Fury and 94,000 in England. Then we had 2 shows in May with Michaela coming back, and then we went to Australia for the lightweight championship with Haney, and then we went to Japan with Inoue and Donaire. And now we're back to back with shows in New York, so it's a good run.
Getting those frequent flyer miles.
Past 2 million miles on United. Jesus. And I was told by the captain, came back, he congratulated me, and I said, shouldn't you be flying a plane? Instead of congratulating me, but it was on autopilot. So
do you at least get upgrades with that kind of status?
I do. I have a lifetime status now with United, which I guess is a good thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it says a lot, but I don't know what it's.
I mean, if you're flying out of Newark, that's a good airline to have. In terms of Berlanga and the Puerto Rican fans, right? Top Rank's leaning into this, bringing the fans out. Same thing now with Long Island fans, right? On Saturday night coming out from Joe Smith. So obviously that was somewhat of a strategic decision, I'm sure. What's the thought process in that and getting these hometown fighters here in the Garden?
It made a lot of sense. First of all, Puerto Rican Day weekend is a natural for us. We do it every year. We're going to continue to do it every year. So and it just so happened that the date coming from ESPN was the following week, and that's where this fight landed on, obviously. But this fight belongs in New York. It just does. And from a production point of view and a marketing point of view, it's 2 totally different crowds. So you're okay going back to back, and hence that's why we're here.
And that's going to go down on Saturday night. Now, got to ask you about golf news. We know, first of all, it's U.S. Open week. It's actually making for a kind of interesting situation because a lot of these folks who went to the Live Golf Tour and played in London are actually able to play in the U.S. Open because it's a USGA event. Even though they're banned from the PGA Tour, they can still play majors. Your thoughts on golfers making that jump and taking the money and going to a rival tour?
It's getting a little like boxing.
Right.
With this controversy with money and everything like that. I mean, what a shock. The Saudis have money. But, in one stretch, the Saudis are involved in European soccer all over the place. They own teams. I'm sure they own a lot of businesses that we're not even aware of. So you might as well just accept it that money is going to be in sports. I understand both sides of the story. It's funny. On the undercard here, we have Kieran Malloy, who's literally right off the boat from Ireland. He is 100%. He's one of Jamie and Michael's fighters. So he's on the card, and he's tight with Rory McIlroy, and they'll know each other. So they get what he's talking about 100%. For us, it's a little different in golf because no one ever, thinks about it like this. But it's good to see this, I understand it. For a guy who isn't going to make a lot of money and he's getting paid just to show up and play 3 rounds, how do you not take it? We've seen this in boxing a lot, so it's funny to see it. You understand both sides. I think eventually, the problem is if these guys aren't allowed to play in the majors, then you're going to have a lot of drawback, because that's really all these guys are playing for, is being in the majors. That's what hurts or helps TV ratings. So if these guys aren't allowed to be playing in the Masters and the U.S. Open, then you'll see a lot of kickback. I don't think they care that they're not playing in the FedEx Open in Memphis.
Right. Too much. Well, a lot of them are probably thankful that they can play less golf and make more money.
Yeah. We should figure that out.
Right, yeah. And it seems like they will be able to play in the majors, but the question is other tour events, Ryder Cup, President's Cup, things like that. You mentioned it's similar to boxing. I mean, that happened to one of your fighters, right? When a new entity came in with Teofimo and tried to take him away for...
How'd that work out?
Well, that was my question. That's, you're kind of more sympathetic then, in a way, to the cause, because it happened firsthand.
Yeah. I mean, the quickest way to become a millionaire in boxing is to start as a billionaire. So if you keep along those lines, that could happen. So steady as she goes. Listen, it's water under the bridge. It happened. You move on, but you understand that, boxers, golfers, they're in it for the money. Yeah. And you go from there.
And I brought up Tio. We know he's going to be back in August, moving up in weight. What do you expect to see from the comeback here?
Well, I think the fact that he's going to 140 is going to be a tremendous help. I mean, that's, he stayed at 35 to win the title, and then Lomachenko came in, and, how do you turn that down? And he really did to Lomachenko what nobody else ever did or might ever do again. So praise for that. You had some problems after that with COVID and the whole purse bid thing and whatnot. But I think to move to 140 is going to help him tremendously. He seems to be refocused and everything like that, and we expect him to get back on that train.
And I'm going to ask you two final questions here. These are put you on the spot questions, okay? If you're ready for this. U.S. Open this week. Your pick. Who takes down the U.S. Open?
Xander Schauffele.
Okay. And
Rory McIlroy right down on Sunday to the end of it.
And who's on top?
I'll go with Xander this time. Because it's Xander Zayas, and he didn't get to fight on Puerto Rican Day weekend, so we're going to spread that love around.
Okay. It's for the namesake. Okay. I asked Bob Arum this last week. I spoke to him. We talked about Tyson Fury coming out of retirement to face the winner of Usyk Joshua. Bob Arum's answer, is there any question about that? Of course he will, essentially confirming that Tyson Fury will come out of retirement. Will Tyson Fury come out of retirement to take on the winner of Joshua Usyk 2?
If it's Anthony Joshua, 100%. If it's Usyk, I think it comes down to, okay, do you want all 4 belts, and does he still do it? Probably. If it's Anthony Joshua, it's a no-brainer. If it's Usyk, I think there's a little bit of thought in it. He probably still does it because as great as Usyk is, he could handle Usyk a lot better than Joshua could, I think, in 2 fights.
He asked for $500 million for Usyk. Well, we talked about that whole billionaire to millionaire. Nice number. Do you think, is that posturing? Is that pricing himself out? What does $500 million mean?
I don't know. I don't know how to write it, so I can't tell you what it means. So I have no idea.
Carl Moretti, I want to thank you so much for the time, breaking down golf, breaking down boxing. Yeah. We got a fun event here on Saturday night at the Garden, and I'm looking forward to it.
Shout out to Canobio.
Yes, shout out to our man Dan.
All right.
Thank you so much.